Okay, another video by me. What I was thinking about today, because I had another patient, we were talking about, we're not talking, but she has a difficulty sometimes bending forward, bending backwards, like most back patients do, one or the other. And so instead, you can pull your knee to your chest, and basically this is one of the things we would do. Instead of laying down, I try to treat everybody in a chair. It's just a lot less movement. But basically I could just have them come up like this, and it just depends on where their belly is or how big it is. But sometimes they can feel a difference, and of course, if both sides are whacked out or bother them, then you just leave it alone. But if one side's easier, feels comfortable, just have them come up, hold it for 3 seconds, 3 sets of 15, and then recheck the other side. Usually it's better. Rule number 1, repeat it if it's easy. But some variations to that could be pulling it up, and I say nose to knee. And some people can't do that, but basically that's just a little bit more of an aggressive stretch. And I will give them a choice of whether they like to do it like this, and again, this is to increase their flexion, or another way to do it is to just put hands on the knee and just bend forward like this. Now I always tell them to do this, hands on the knee, because that way they're in charge with how far they go. And some people will go to here, some people will go all the way down to here. But as soon as you let go of your hands, all the stress is on your back. So I just have them do it like this, and it's usually pretty comfortable. But again, testing both sides, whichever side's easier. So this side feels easier to me right now. Don't know why, don't care. But anyway, that's where I would be doing it. And then we would go from there. So some people like this move better, some people like this move better. Essentially, it's the same thing. From a joint standpoint, here you're just bringing your knee to your chest. Here you bring your chest to your knee. Now, another thing that I do, and I call this a finishing move, once they can move pretty good, I'll just tell them to put their hands here and just slide down. And sometimes they can do it pretty good, but and sometimes not, then we don't do it, obviously. But then what I'll do is come slide all the way down to the foot, and then come up. And so what that does for somebody who's scared of standing up and bending forward is mechanically they're going through that motion. The only difference is where their legs are at. So then what I'll do is coax them to just lift the hip up and back down and come back up. And if they feel comfortable, we just keep on going. And then usually they say, well, how high do I go? I say, well, just go how high, how high do you want to go? Just go as high as you want. And then, eventually just come all the way up if they can. And then once you get done with that, just have them stand up and bend forward. And usually they do a lot better like that. Now, not everybody, but it does give you more options to play with. Now, another one for flexion, and this depends on how active the person is, but I use this on yoga folks. I'm not a big yoga guy, but they talk about this stretch here, and I think she called it a cat thing. Anyway, so it was bothering her to go into this position. So I was thinking, what can I do to make this easier from a TMR perspective? And I just thought, well, we're just talking about flexion. So what I would do is take your right butt cheek to your right heel and your left butt cheek to your left heel. So the interesting thing for me right now is this side, left butt cheek to left heel, is more uncomfortable, even though leaning forward was more comfortable on this side. Yeah, don't care. But I would treat it out by going to this position. And then I told her also, you can do it like this, or you can be on your elbows if that's more comfortable. Because the way my philosophy is, I want it to be the most comfortable thing possible. If it's stressful, I don't want to do it. Because most of the people I see are chronic painters anyway. And so if they can be more comfortable with how they move, they're going to feel more comfortable with doing anything else you ask them to. Now, these are things that I don't do on the first day. I shouldn't say that blanket-wise, because I might do it down the line, but the first visits I see people with, starting with rotations in an arm raise. If the arm raise is irritated, go to shoulder extension. And the second thing I do is if I add anything for a third exercise, or on top of, if they can't do a shoulder thing comfortably, then I'll just have them do seated hip flexion like this. They can't do it actively, then I'll have them do it like this. If that still bugs them, they'll just have them to hold it. And again, they don't have to go to end range. They can just hold it like this because it's still in hip flexion. Because the bottom line for me on the first day is getting a positive result. And I tell them too, if I can't get you to feel better on the first day, we're not going to see you again. And now we've never had to turn anybody away yet. So maybe that'll help, maybe not. Maybe it's just more confusing.